her. Know that you want to know that you want her. She's got a heart like a wheel.
Why we can't get started, CAO?
Yes, everyone's in.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, we're good to go. So I will call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are gathered today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Dubman Nation, as well as all Coast Salish First Nations on whose traditional territories we have the honor to live, including my home on Waiete, also known as
Recording in progress.
Also known as Lasqueti Islands. So we have an agenda before us. Are there any additions or changes anyone would like to propose? And seeing none, would someone like to move adoption of the agenda? Director Elliott, Director Dowd, is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None carried. So we have no minutes, so we have 12 delegations, and hopefully, I guess some will come in person and some will be on the screen. And I'll mention that the process for the delegates and those who are hearing, and I'll repeat it a bit throughout. There's 10 minutes allotted. We really appreciate to hear from everyone. And then after speaking, there will be 5 minutes available for any directors who wish to ask a clarifying question and up to one follow-up. So first up, we have Ms. Chamberlain, the qathet concert band. And I don't know if she's in person or on.
Yes,
there she is.
here.
Thank you,
Yes.
and welcome to us. And you'll see on this the screen there will be a clock, and I believe it's green, and then it'll turn yellow towards the end, and then red at the end of 10 minutes. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for considering the application of the qathet concert band. So this application is for us to hire a student to go through approximately 22 years worth of music that has been collected and that really needs to be sorted out, but it's going to be very time consuming, and we need a student who is computer savvy, what we'll be looking for when hiring this student, to at least get a start on it by cataloguing every piece of music that we have. We currently have between 8 or 11 4-drawer filing cabinets of music that has not been organized in all the years that this band has been going. I believe the band has been going for 30 years. We figure the student can start by cataloguing this music for us, and by having a detailed explanation of what we have in music, we'll cut down some of the costs, because any music that we apply for, a score can start from $100 up just for the score. That's not counting the individual sectional pieces that we need for everybody that plays different instruments. So there's volumes of copies of music to be purchased as well. So we figure this will cut down the costs. Any music further on down the road that we can discard or get rid of, we will make application to see if other groups, particularly the Comox concert band, whom we're doing a joint concert with on June 2nd, would like to take from us. So we don't want to sort of totally eliminate it. We would like it to be reused if possible. But our first goal is to get this music documented as quickly as possible, even though we've waited 22 years to do it. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the directors? Director Brander.
Thank you, Chair. I have one quick question. I noticed in your application, it says that you're not registered under the society as a society or a business, or
They have never done that.
so how would you go about hiring somebody, I guess, to do the work? Like, will we be listed as the employer?
We'd probably we want to go through Brooks School because that's where our music director teaches and is also our conductor. So I believe he has a student in mind that could carry out this task. It has to be a student who plays music.
But I mean, who would be listed as the employer?
I guess we would be the concert band, even though we're not a registered society.
I just don't know the legalities of all of that. If you're not a business or a charity or a society,
We're not.
or thank you.
Are there any other questions, Director Gisborne?
Yeah, I'm not very music savvy, so it all looks Greek to me. One of my questions is these sheet music, because I'm learning more and more about digital copyright and all that kind of stuff. When you have a digital copy and then you try and get it to a digital copy, is there any kind of like legal barriers when you're doing that conversion?
We have to be licensed, and we've got that because we do order music. And Stephen orders that through the school system. And so we are licensed to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I got a second question, Chair, if that's okay.
Yes.
Continuing on. I know that there's a lot of music activities in the community and nonprofits, and it came to my attention recently that one of them was actually getting grants through the school district for some of their music proposals or things like that. And I was just wondering if that's an avenue, because it sounds like, you know, your band coordinator and all that stuff is already through the school district. And I'm just wondering if that's an avenue that's come up at all.
No, it hasn't. And I've been with the band 9 years. So we pay for the space at Brooks School and we pay for the conductor, who is affiliated, obviously, a school teacher with the District 47. Other workings, so we pay for all our costs going along the way. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, it was just a thing that recently came to my attention about.
I'll have to look into that. I'll have to look into it because I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering if you might have more information.
No, but I'm going to find out. I can tell you that.
Okay. Director
I
Lennox.
see Director Lennox. Yeah, I got it.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for your presentation. Calling from South Carolina here, so I'm a bit dozy here with the time change, but I can speak to the impact that music and band can have on people, as I was a product of that coming up in my youth, and the expense of that sheet music is significant. Just a couple of questions. I noticed that you've in your application you said as suggested by the Arts Council of Powell River, and maybe they could be a conduit for you to facilitate this objective. So that's one of my ideas just at first glance. And I also see in your application that you're not applying to the city of Powell River, but it says see attached. I didn't really see any details on there. Maybe you could just clarify that for me. Thank you.
Well, we have gone through the Arts Council and they have graciously awarded us to get started on this project, although it wouldn't cover the students' salary for the entire term. And that's why I've approached the regional district also for the balance of the funds, if that's possible. To hire the student for at least 3 months. It will take him a full 3 months to do this work.
Still seeing none.
Or her.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze, Director Fall.
I did freeze. Okay, sorry about that. My connection's unstable. I might turn off. I'll keep watching you. I'll turn off my video for a second. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Chamberlain, for approaching us, and we will be considering the application probably at our next finance committee meeting.
And thank you for considering the application. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next delegate is Ms. Susan McKay, the founder and CEO of Wild Ocean Whale Society.
on.
Let me just share your screen.
Start out there. Oh, it's not actually. The slide shows off.
Up here up on the screen.
Great.
And then you can just click here.
Yep.
And that will bring you to the next
That's
slide.
great. Thanks.
Excuse me, Chair, I can't hear. I can't hear what the declaration is saying. It's cutting in and out.
Oh, they're
Right
just
up
getting
there.
set up, Director McCormick.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
they've started yet. I think there's just getting the technical part. We see the opening slide, but
First
I
uploaded
think
the
Thank you.
PowerPoint, and basically, I just wanted to do a very brief PowerPoint and outline what we do. We're reducing the feral cat population as much as we can. We started on Texada with a bunch of kitten rescues, and we have proceeded through dealing with that. Thank you, with some funding from regional here last year. And then we have been called in to actually do north of town, as well as continuing with Texada. We've been dealing with both the areas, and although Texada has been down to a dull roar now, considering last year, once we had established funding, we actually wound up dealing with a total of 109 cats, kittens, and disposition of the 17 carcasses that we had, the deceased cats, the poisoned cats. That's 2023. 2024 has already started, where we have been trapping, spaying, neutering. We've done 25 of them so far. Of that, approximately 50% are females. So we estimate that we have prevented bare minimum of 56 kittens from being born, which would have exploded the population again. When we first started on Texada, we anticipated that there was going to be 30 cats. So we were over 100 that we were dealing with in the long run. The presentation basically just outlines a little bit of what we're doing and what it takes to do this. The cleaning aspect is huge. We require funds for obviously litter that gets thrown about all over the place, cat food. We hold the cats for a number of days before they go into the vet. We trap them, we hold, then we transport, and then they get spayed and neutered, then they come back and they're held for recovery for a few days. The females need 3 days worth of medication, and then they are released back. So, and literally we're short of volunteers. We're working our tails off to get this all accomplished. The main thing is preventing the kittens from being born, because the kittens can start reproducing at the age of 4 months. So, which quite often will kill them if they are that young. But at the same token, getting the females done and the males, but getting them back out there has been the best thing for them. They also continue to reduce the rat and mouse population. Thank you very much. Really appreciate consideration here.
Thank you. And are there any questions from the board? And I can't see everyone very well. There we are, Director Gisborne. And then Director Allen.
I'll pass my time to Director McCormick first, because
Okay.
the application isn't for Area B. So
Okay, Director McCormick.
Thank you. And I just want to express appreciation to what WOWS has done over the course of the last year. It's made a big difference on Texada. So I see the true value of what it is that they're offering, and know, as a cat lover myself, that it's pretty important to keep this population under control. So my question, Susan, is about the funding, how it's going to be used in 2024, how much you're asking for, and also related to the 109 Texada cats from last year, were any of them adopted out, or were they all returned back to the place where they were found?
All the kittens were that we found on Texada have been adopted, except for one who unfortunately was too small, didn't make it. They all have permanent homes. They're all happy, healthy. I wound up with more than I share. I actually wound up with 3 of them, and then another one that was injured that I took on. And he's doing great.
And this year, the funding will be used to continue this program?
To continue the program with the extension of Powell River North.
Yeah.
So we're working both on Texada, where we are aware that there is another colony that we have not touched, partially because we're not allowed on the individual's property to set traps.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director Gisborne, then I saw Director Gisborne, Director Elliott, Director Lennox.
Yeah.
Director Gisborne, you were next, and then.
Yeah, I grew up in the valley, and we get feral cats probably about the last 30 years. People in town will dump them off sometimes. So, yeah, I've had firsthand experience with what you're doing. Those live traps, once I got 7 kittens in 1 trap. So my question is, what has your experience been with the spread of feline distemper on Texada Island? Is that occurring over there? Because it does occur over on the mainland.
We have not seen any. We haven't heard of any. The cats themselves, when we catch them, they go in, they're spayed, neutered, they're also vaccinated, given a check over. And then also if they've got any injuries, then they get medication for that as well.
Yeah, the feline distemper, it's an illness that goes through the valley. And what'll happen is it shuts down their digestive system. So you will see like an increase in cat population, and then it crashes in one season. So I presume it's kind of being addressed. And how has your experience been with dealing with the SPCA? Because we do provide funding through the SPCA for animal shelter. And I'm just wondering, how has that been?
We have, last year we received $5,000 through the SPCA Spain TNR grant. This year there was none to be had. Last year we also received $3,000 from the regional district, which we really appreciated. And this year we're applying obviously for more because we don't have any alternate funding. We did receive some donations at the end of the year last year, which is why we had the carry forward of that allowed us to keep on going, which is what we're doing right now. In the meantime, we're looking for funds wherever we can get it.
Okay. No, those are my 2 questions.
Thank you. So we have 2 more who want to ask questions. We'll go a tiny bit over probably, but hopefully we can be efficient here. Director Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. So Susan, my question was, the funding you're seeking from us, is it mainly for the holding of cats, like the food, the litter, that kind of stuff? Or is it to cover the costs of spaying, neutering, and all of the other stuff? Do you pay the vets, or is it through the SPCA?
No, there's absolutely nothing through the SPCA. We are covering it all.
Do you get a preferential rate?
We get a slight discount, and we are working very closely with the vet. It has to be over in Comox because our local vets don't have the capacity to deal with the sheer volume that we've got. And they don't give us as much of a break.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Lennox.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. Just a couple of things that I see in the application. It's a little bit curious to me that you've identified Area A. I don't have any awareness of this issue in my area, and I see that point 3 in your application says to reduce the anxiety of Texada. and those north of town in Area A specifically, why are we, this seems like a regional benefit, obviously not Lasqueti and areas like that, but I would think with the mobility and facts that Director Gisborne has identified with people dropping cats into other areas and that type of solution, why you're just focusing on Area A. Thank you.
I'm terribly sorry, but what is Area A?
It's north of town.
It's north of town. Okay, well, we were called in. We were called in on Texada to help out. And that was our main focus. Once we were managing to get through some of this, we wound up being called north of town the latter part of 2023. So when we get called, we don't turn down rescues. And this is why, although we are wild ocean whale, and we do deal with whales, but we've also dealt with other rescues of various types of animals, whether they be domestic or wildlife. Part of the problem was the threat of poisonings on Texada, which is when we got called in, and also to help rescue the kittens. So unfortunately, the SPCA did not take the kittens from Texada. So we wound up finding fosters and getting them adopted out and socialized.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming before us, Ms. McKay, and we will consider your application at our next meeting, next Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Okay.
So thank you. Our next delegation is Rita Curtis, the building booking manager from Lund Community Society. Thank you, Ms. Curtis, and we have 10 minutes, and you'll see the timer on the wall will start green and be friendly, and then it'll start turning yellow and then red as it gets closer. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rita. I'm representing the Lund Community Society as well as the Puddle Jumpers Preschool and Daycare. So the funding that we're asking for is to move our preschool daycare room within the Northside Community Rec Center, partially due to the upcoming build of the new building. And also because we're just bursting at the seams and we need the space. Now, we are a licensed daycare. We're the only licensed daycare north of Dubman. And we also have under 3 spots, which are very rare. So keeping our daycare is very important to us and our community. I have a note from the preschool daycare teacher, Alicia, which I'd like to read. Here it goes. The preschool and daycare are currently the biggest users of the NCRC. They operate a full 3 days a week. They also are the program that is going to be affected most by the construction noise and disruption. It is also a program that is seeking to expand due to a much higher demographic shift to young families in the area. There is quite an increase in families of toddlers that require care. Currently, the daycare preschool room is at the front of the building, and the only room that can work for a sleep room is half the current space. This is quite a waste of space for a sleeping toddler. There is a big list of good reasons to move to the back of the meeting, to the back meeting room, but it lacks 2 things required by licensing: hot running water and a sleep room. We have some money saved, but would require a bit more to do a proper job. We have local contractors willing to help, and this project would ideally happen during summer break or Christmas break, and before the major parts of construction project on the expansion of the NCRC begin. I can't begin to express how important the daycare and preschool are to families in the Lund area and have historically provided connections between families. Currently, it is also increasingly allowing parents to pursue and maintain employment in our area. It is a good program that helps families live in a rural and often disconnected area with minimal services. So that was from our preschool teacher. She couldn't come today because she's teaching preschool and daycare. I have also would like to add that I've consulted with Patrick Devereaux, QRD, and I have fulfilled his requirements for us to do any amendments to the building such as having Paul Shuley contracting oversee our project so that it's all to code. Any questions?
Thank you very much. There, I see Director Lennox.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Rhea, for coming on in and making the presentation. And my grandson is literally there with Alicia today. So your application is actually very fulsome and really describes the benefits. I don't have to go on and on about that. It's huge in our community. And there is some angst, I believe, from the users and potential users that during the project, you know, there won't be that capacity. So I think I understand the intent of the application, and I appreciate all the work you've done in the background with our staff to understand the issue and to get it done. So thank you for your application.
Thank you. Are there any other in the boardrooms I can see? Director Dowd.
Director Dowd.
Yeah, Director Dowd.
Well, my kids haven't gone to that preschool for a while, but they did go. So I know what the building's like, and I know how valuable it is for the neighbors out there. But we don't have any drawings in our package, and I wonder if you could tell me how these renovations are going to fit in with the overall project when it's finished. Will they still be usable, or are they going to require to be renovated again?
No, the idea is to move the preschool to a different room and construct the sleep room in the room. So we're just basically building a 6 by 10 or an 8 by 10 room inside the main room. And that will be the preschool permanently. And then where the preschool is now will become a meeting room for the community center.
Okay, so it's going to still be usable after the main building construction.
Yes, yes. This will be the new permanent home of the daycare.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, Director Gisborne?
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you as a father with 3 kids, 5 and under. Yeah, a quiet sleeping space and running hot water are very important.
Pretty basic, yeah.
Because they make messes. Anyways, thank you for everything you're doing, and I know Area B is a little far from Lund, but you know, maybe one day we'll see one in Area B. So
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank you for coming for us.
All right, thank you very much for your consideration.
Yeah, thanks for coming here. Okay, our next delegation is Ms. Kiland, the committee chair, and Warren and Mr. Kiland, Texada Island Sandcastle weekend.
They were unable to make it in person or virtually today due to a last minute item that came up for them. So next we have.
Thank you. So skip along to Ms. Kamen, Qathet Art Council.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to, my name's Karen Payment, and I wanted to thank you all for the funding of Fiberspace. The women in that group and the young men that joined and the youth were so grateful for the supplies that we were able to purchase, that there was at least 3 new workshops. There were a handful of other mentoring opportunities, and everyone's really grateful for the support. So thank you very much for that opportunity to expand that program. And this application is, I also handed you some pamphlets. There's one booklet that's pretty colorful. And then there is also a coloring book page. So Director Powell, Director McCormick, and Director Lennox will leave these here for you to pick up when you come to town. So the coloring book page, Deshinaqua, is a piece, a takeaway of a piece that's in the current exhibition at Qathet Art Center. It is called Artivism. So it is the art of activism. There's about 50 local artists from all regions. And as well, this one's really nice because we've started to reach out to artists that are in the MLA riding. So we have an artist from Quadra that came over to join the show. So how people view this region as their region as an opportunity for artists. So that's been pretty amazing, that expansion. And then the booklet, so this piece, Jashiniqua, is from Megan Hildebrand. And her piece is about, it's about anti-racism as well as Indigenous language revitalization. So the coloring book was a result of a meeting with local artists and activists coming together to collaborate on ideas to peacefully and creatively address the name change conversation. Jessica Johnson introduced the word Jashiniqua to me, an Iajuthem word loosely meaning rays of light. The first part of the word means legs. I drew a coloring sheet, making this double meaning literal and hopefully humorous. The word shows us how language is not simply words. Language also carries unique ways to see and describe and be in the world. Iajuthem is from right here and is informed by and connected to the land we inhabit. So a lot of artists come to this region to become land stewards as well, following in the footsteps of the Tla'amin Nation from time immemorial. So as we live in this region and are inspired by this region, I think this piece is really important in how it shows the value of the visual arts and the importance of having an arts center as an asset in a community so that people can meet. Having the Arts Center as an incubation center, we've been able to support groups like Fiberspace, groups like Life Drawing that needed a home. We also have new groups that are meeting before they're able to become a society. So you've got these small groups, you've got larger groups that don't necessarily understand what taking on a society role means. And the Arts Council's been able to support these small groups before they're able to actually become a society. So, and for instance, with the qathet community band's request, we would actually be able to do a flow-through grant as Director Lennox and Director Bradner were questioning. So we're happy to support that process. So just let us know what you need from that perspective. This year, this grant application is really significant for us. The arts and culture industry for BC is currently at 18.5 billion. So the province is generating revenue at 18.5 billion in 2023. It was in 2021, 8.5. So we've gone up to another $10 billion in the industry. So the BC Arts Council this year has about just under 39 million that they're going to be distributing to arts and culture organizations. And what's really amazing is that we have so many strong and professional arts organizations that are requesting funding. So we're very new to the table because we had to have the facility of the Arts Center to be eligible to access that funding. So this year, we are requesting, we hope that you'll really please consider the full funding ask. And we also hope to look towards a multi-year agreement. This year is really significant and for us in a full funding ask because we have a multi-year agreement with the province of BC for operations. The funding that we receive this year will inform the province on how much funding we're able to access from them. The main thing that we've been told by the BC Arts Council is that what they fund us is directly related to what our local governments fund us. So we're hoping that you'll really strongly consider the full ask of our request as we move forward into this grant cycle. It could be really significant for the programs that we're able to deliver, the organizations that we're able to support, as well as the artists. For just a little snippet for you to understand, often when I'm at the Arts Center, people come to the Arts Center because they're looking to buy property. So they're like, oh, great, there's an art center and an art gallery. They want to check in with the asset. A lot of times they'll buy a membership. right then and there, even as they're looking for property as a way to support and to step into that organization. Then they go away for a few years as they fix up their property and come on back. So we've been able to help people. You know, the next one is they've settled, they're in the community, and now they want to connect. They want to reach out. So they come back to the Arts Center as this hub, and we're able to direct them to all the different arts organizations. We can't do everything in the small facility that we have. So if they need pottery, we send them here and there. If they need music, we try and help direct them where they need to go into the community. So that we're able to offer mentorship opportunities by when people come in, and we'll get multiple, that threshold, right? We're getting multiple people asking for the same thing, and we're able to pair them up. So just having the Art Council support the artists, the residents. We're a year-round facility, so that funding would help support the qathet resident show, which we're having over the winter time. It would help with the qathet studio tour. It would also, it'll help with the directory for the region. So again, making information accessible to local residents as well as visitors coming in. So we're getting tourists that'll come in and we're sending them on their way. It's like, okay, where are you going? Which galleries are they specifically looking at, the time frame that they're here? So we want to be a really strong part of that $18.5 billion industry. And we feel that having an arts council where you have a unified vision of the arts and culture sector can really benefit all the organizations. So we really appreciate your support and hope that we can keep up the good work.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the, okay, I see Director Gisborne and then Director Elliott. Director Gisborne?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking through the application, and on page 10, it says, how much funding are you applying for from the City of Powell River? And it has $35,000. And then on the next page under revenue, it has City of Powell River as $24,000. Maybe you can help, make it sense in my mind. Is the 24,000 last year's?
So we have 24,000 in cash, and then we also have the in-kind space.
Oh, okay.
So, and then I think that calculation would also include the permissive tax exemption. I think that's how it would get to that.
Okay, so that would be like an 11,000 like in-kind kind of for the rental space and that kind of stuff. And then my other question is, you said the funding you get from the BC Arts Council is directly related to what local government funds. And I'm wondering, what kind of formula do they use? Is that like a one-to-one, or is it, because I know some organizations are like, hey, we just want to see that you have the support of local government. Like I think it was a couple of years ago, we hadn't asked for like $300, and I was like, why is this worth anyone's time? And they said, well, it unlocks thousands from the province. So I was just wondering, like, the amount, is the BC Arts Council kind of saying, well, if you get more from local government, we'll give you more, or how is that?
Each one's unique. So we receive I think we're at about 5 different BC Arts Council grants. So some of them have different requirements. The one that's really important for us is the operational, in that it maintains that core funding. So from that core funding, then you're able to expand, support, and maintain your programs. So if you look at festival grants, we have one festival grant with BC Arts Council that has different categories. And then like a lot of the festivals in town, there was an additional Ministry of Tourism Arts and Culture grant. So there was a way to double up. And those are really about, the province really recognizes the impact of lockdown on arts and culture and the damage to gathering, right? Like how really important it is for us to build community. So that's where those funds are still quite high, and it's really nice. So hoping to keep that funding and just to keep strong in them.
Okay. That really helps my mind understand what's going on better. So
yeah, so there's 5 different grants we get. We have 2 federal grants, And they each have, like, some of them are 50%, some of them are 90%, because we're rural remote. And that has a lot of leverage when we're doing these applications. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where my question was coming from, because the province has been giving out very large percentage-wise grants, but each one, as you say, is like its own unique requirements, and that's, yeah.
Yeah, and right, they're just about to release publicly the gaming grants, which many arts organizations and other organizations in our community, that's about to go public pretty soon. So it's,
Okay.
there's lots.
So let's hand it. Director Leah had a question, and then Director McCormick, and we'll try to I'll address those two.
Okay, I will try my best to not use up too much time. Thank you so much. I recall at one time we were looking at the concept of having arts grants flow through the Arts Council.
Yes.
So that the Arts Council could show local government funding for grants that landed for other arts projects within the community. And there was a little bit of a struggle with covering the admin burden that placed. Do you have any comments about whether that is helpful or not helpful? It allows a leveraging of extra dollars from outside the community in supporting projects we're already supporting. And
I would say right now, that instance that you're talking about was during lockdown. And so there was a lot, it was really helpful for our organization then, because that flow through money actually really influenced our BC operational grant. So
that was the idea.
It was like, yeah, thanks for remembering that. That was that leveraging component. So that was really significant. So now we have we have 5 grants that we're running. Let's 2, 7. So like, we're good with that capacity. And then even the internal projects, the Qathet Region Arts and Culture Directory, the Qathet Studio Tour. So these are other projects. So we're good from the flow through aspect. But again, we can now be the flow through for these smaller organizations like the Qathet or community band.
And so when you receive funding from the community forest, do you also register that as a local government support?
Yes. So that's in there as well. We put that under local government.
Thank you.
Director Elliott, Director McCormick.
Thank you, and I'll be quick. Karen, your programs sound really exciting, especially the artism. Reminds me of Andy Warhol and all of that stuff from when I was young. But my question is for the active artist community on Texada and how Texada artists are currently involved with your program. So that's one question. How are they currently involved? And part B is, how do you hope to involve more artists in the future from the island? Thank you.
So we have a small side gallery right now, and we have local Texada artists that we've been working with. So they're showcased in one of the side galleries off the main gallery. There are Texada artists in the show. So yeah, there's at least one. I think there's a couple of Texada artists that are in the show as well. So just trying to accommodate ferry schedules to make sure they can pick up and drop off their work with ease and are part of the celebrations. So we look forward to more. The artists individually are choosing to be part of there's an artist from Texada that is part of the Qathet Studio Tour guide, so that they'll also be in there as well. But those are personal choices, and we're really happy to get the information to you and as well to Director Fall for the directory. There's no reason that Lasqueti artists can't be self-promoting on the directory as well.
Thank you. I look forward to getting that information.
And thank you for the call out for Lasqueti. It always helps to find a way for Lasqueti to be able to benefit from these. So thank you for coming for us, Ms. Kamen, and for the presentation and the discussion.
Yes. Thanks very much, Director Paul.
So before we go to the next person, I just want to mention for the board, I know questions are great, but 5 minutes goes very quickly. So I'd just like to encourage directors to be very concise with wording so that we can have as many questions as possible. It's good to ask questions, and we'll have lots of discussion later. Our next delegate is Ms. Marshall and Ms. Egglestone, the president from Texada Health Services Society. And are they physically in the room, or are they on? Are we looking for
No,
them
I
on?
did not receive notice that they
We're here. We're here.
here.
Oh, you're there. Okay.
So we had to just find how to unmute it.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're online. Okay, great. Thank you for coming before us. We have you have 10 minutes for presenting to us, and then the board will ask questions if they have any.
Great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to our request for a grant and aid for the Texada Health Services Society. Texada Health Services Society was first formed in about 1999 by the residents of Texada for the residents of Texada. Peggy McLean was the individual who spearheaded the society, and their first order of business was to acquire a new doctor for Texada. This was over 25 years ago. This overall objective of the society is to meet the medical needs of the residents of Texada. This has been accomplished over the years by assisting with the purchase of medical equipment not provided by Vancouver Coastal Health, training courses for the nurses, purchase of medical equipment for the benefit of the residents, such as walkers, wheelchairs, hospital beds, etc. So our goal is to ensure that we provide any type of medical equipment that would benefit the population of Texada as requested by the doctor or the residents. We have done fundraising within our community, especially when the clinic required renovations back in 2005 and 2006, and for funds for the cancer support group in 2014. Also, over the years, we have developed various programs. Initially, funds were raised by a group of individuals for breast cancer. They asked us to manage the funds for them, so they came under our umbrella. As their funds dwindle, it will eventually be rolled into the cancer support group. Just like the breast cancer program, the cancer support group reimburses patients for the cost of traveling, example, gas, food, and lodging. They can claim up to $500 per year per person. We're now increasing that amount to $1,000 per year per person. As you can appreciate, $500 will not cover very much today at today's prices. Over a 7-year period, we have had 25 individuals access funds for reimbursement for cancer treatment. These individuals are those who we know about. There are several residents who are dealing with cancer but don't want to access the funds. It is usually because they want to ensure that those individuals who need it the most have access to those funds. Sometimes we encounter a situation whereby a person who is in the process of being diagnosed does not have the funds to seek medical treatment, and we will assist that person in getting to treatment. This is coordinated with our doctor as he makes us aware of these situations. We don't ever want to hear that someone was not able to get treatment because of their financial situation. This would be totally unacceptable. These funds are precious to us and those who need them. Recent statistics show that new cases of cancer are projected to increase by approximately 3.5%, and deaths from cancer will increase by approximately 1.5% in 2024. This is due to our growing aging population. As everyone knows, Texada's demographics is composed mainly of seniors. Cancer is still the #1 cause of death. 2 in 5 people will be diagnosed in their lifetime with cancer, and 1 in 4 will die from cancer. In the last couple of years, we've developed another initiative, the Green Armband Program for our residents. This program allows individuals who are taken to Powell by ambulance to know that they won't be released in the middle of the night with nowhere to go, sometimes with no clothes, and they will be in their nightwear with no money for cab fare or ferry fare. When the patient's picked up, the ambulance attendant will put a green armband on them. This tells the doctors and nurses at the hospital that the patient is from Texada. Emergency will keep them until the morning when the ferry is running. The patient is provided with any clothing needed, a voucher for a cab to the ferry, and when they arrive at the terminal, there is a ferry card that is billed to our society that is used to pay for the ferry. They also receive some coinage so they may purchase something from the vending machine. The patient is given a list of names with phone numbers of volunteers who will pick them up at Blubber Bay and take them home. Monies for this endeavor has been by donations from charitable groups and individuals, but more funding is needed. Sometimes we will help with the purchase of medical equipment that will greatly benefit the clinic and patients of Texada, such as replacement AED at the Legion, a King Vision video adapter, a Butterfly IQ, a Lucas chest compressor system, a purchase of an AED case and child pads for the first responders, etc. The total money spent since 2019 was $37,879, which is an average of about 6,776 per year for medical equipment. From year to year, you are not aware of what equipment is required by the doctor or the clinic as the equipment ages or newer technology comes to light. We know Vancouver Coastal Health has a budget and these items may be on their list, but we may not receive them for a few years due to priority of requests and needs of other medical professions or clinics. We sometimes have the ability to bypass the wait list if we deem the need for our residents is essential, and we can't wait due to the possibility of potential loss of life because of the lack of equipment. We are looking at other new initiatives for the society as outlined in our request. In my discussions with our clinic, I noted our list of volunteer drivers for patients has somewhat evaporated and needs to be refreshed. We'll be searching for individuals who can donate their time to assist patients who have no other support to get them to appointments either on or off the island. Another endeavor we have is putting on workshops in conjunction with Vancouver Coastal Health. We wish to cover such topics as mental health, nutrition, MAID, Alzheimer's, estate planning, doctor appointments via Zoom, avoiding scammers, etc. We want our residents to know what is out there and how to access it. It is our goal to bring in qualified individuals that can speak to those topics noted above. There will be travel costs and possibly some other costs associated with the workshops that we would cover. We will be working with Better at Home to help develop an awareness and network for our residents. Many of our residents don't understand how it works, so we need to inform them and develop a list of things that they would like to have to assist them with staying in their homes. Powell River seniors already have access to more services than Texada with Better at Home. We want to change this so that we can have the same advantages. I have agreed to serving to their advisory board to ensure that Texada residents have a voice in what is offered to them so that their needs don't go unnoticed. We are planning a workshop for the seniors to attend and advise us of their immediate needs and what needs they anticipate they may require. We thank you for your time and appreciate you considering our cause and requests. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Egglestone. Are there any questions for the delegation? Director Elliott and then Director McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. My question was about Better at Home. Is there, I want to make sure I understood you correctly. Are you trying to ask Better at Home to provide more or better access to services on Texada? And is there an example where you've managed to get something happening in that regard?
I think we're going to address both areas because I found with the residents here on Texada, they don't understand how Better at Home works. I have been talking with Sonia at Better at Homes, and for myself, I've employed them for myself. And I found the benefit of it. And I think that benefit can be used and spread elsewhere. And there's other things that we can use on the island here that we don't have. Right now, they offer grass cutting. When I was talking to them the other day, they said the next thing they're looking at is some housekeeping. People here on the island, I think what they need to know is that there is a number of people that will use that service, but they haven't come forward with it. We need to identify them. And I think that's where the workshop comes in. We need to have people understand what's going on, how it works, and what they feel that they need done, and so they can stay within their home. I unfortunately just recently lost my husband, so I'm waiting for knee surgery, so I can't do a lot of things right now. So having something like Better at Home to come in and help me with the grass cutting and doing various other things, that is so beneficial for me. And I know there's others out there that can use it, but don't realize it's available to them.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about your husband. Director McCormick.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I can really attest to how valuable the work of the Texada Health Services Society is to the people who live there. And all of the work that they do is strictly a voluntary effort. So I really want to applaud Barb. Your committee is just doing an amazing job, your society. So my question is about how much funding you're looking for in 2024 and how that will actually be used. Is it to support all of the programs or specifically some of them?
It's to support all the programs right now. As you can see from our, our breakdown of our balance sheet, we have about 5,800 just in the Cancer Support Fund. We're increasing that to $1,000. That is going to be eaten up fairly quickly. And so I would like to have a projection of at least 15,000 in there for just for that alone. So, and then the green armband, I want to see that up to at least 10,000. Right now it's sitting at about 26. I always like to have a buffer zone, and especially because we don't know how many patients are going to go through this. And, you know, trying to get, I've got the word out there right now where I've asked people when they're making donations on their checks to please indicate whether they want it to go to the green armband or whether they want it go to cancer, or whether it's just to go to operational. And operational takes care of medical equipment. And so we have the biggest funds in the medical equipment area, but right now it's the other areas that we need. And now we're looking at new initiatives. So we want to do those new initiatives where we want to give the workshops to everybody. And so that's where it's going to cover. And we've asked for 50,000 or 55, was it? Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay,
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the table? Director Gisborne.
Yeah, thank you for the work you're doing. I understand some of the challenges of trying to keep people at home with health issues. I hear you're having some challenges with Vancouver Coastal Health, and my question is, like, one of the other jobs that the regional district does is we advocate for changes at the provincial level. We got upcoming UBCM resolutions, things like that. So I'm wondering, like, what kind of things can we do in relation to advocacy? Because a lot of these initiatives they're very important, very valuable to the community. And when I was going through the healthcare system, they kept saying, hey, it's way more cost effective to keep people in the home rather than keeping them in the hospital. And my response was always, okay, Vancouver Coastal Health, then what are you doing to actually, reduce your costs by having people at home? And I'm just wondering, like, how has that been with Vancouver Coastal Health, and where do you think we might be able to push them to be more supportive?
Okay, and it's a good question. Actually, I'm very amazed. I've been president for just over 5 years, and it's only in this last year in the fall that Vancouver Coastal actually reached out to us, and we now have a working relationship. So they are there to support us now, where in past we were just doing everything on our own. This is why I'm saying when we have guest speakers to these things, like Made in that, I want qualified speakers. I don't want just somebody coming and talking. And we're going to do that through the Vancouver Coastal. So we're going to tap into their resources to see what people are available that can come and speak to these matters.
That is very good news to hear that VCH is now stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
So that gives a smile to my face. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Egglestone. That's the end of our questions. I don't see anyone with a burning additional question, but we'll consider the application at our next Finance Committee meeting.
Much appreciated.
Thank you for coming to us.
Thank you.
Coffee.
Okay, our next delegate is Mr. Cummings, the president of Townsite Jazz Festival Society. And, I'm not sure if he's in the room or joining us virtually. There'll be 10 minutes available, and there's a clock on the wall or on the screen that you'll see. And otherwise the floor is yours once the technology is set up for you.
Once they've loaded your tech.
Do I just prompt it every time I want to?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for considering our application for assistance. And we're looking over our shoulder at a festival that's already happened, of course. And it was a successful festival at that. It was our biggest and best festival in my estimation, and I should know. We had more people come out. We sold more tickets. We used more venues. We had more musicians. We included more students from around the province and around Powell River. And I've heard a lot of positive comments since the festival. I thought I'd take you for a little walk through the festival. We have some pictures mostly taken by our photographer, Mr. Andrew Rice. So we used quite a few venues at the Townsite Jazz Festival. And our one of the venues is the Shingle Mill, and it's a great little venue for us. It seats about, I think we can squeeze in about 70 people into that space. And we of course have showcase artists in there, as well as student groups that open for all of the showcase artists. This is my vocal jazz group performing in the cafeteria at Brooks, believe it or not, also known as Brooks Hall. And we had a jazz and appies event there. And all the food was put on by the Brooks Culinary Arts. That was a big sold out success that featured a group called, fabulous group called Mimosa. This is in the Max Cameron Theatre. This group comes from Victoria. It's one of the jazz bands that we brought in from outside of Powell River. It's so important for our students to see groups other than ones from Powell River, and sometimes we go visit them, and in this case, we bring the world to us. This is at the Max Cameron Theatre. It's one of our premier concerts. The two saxophone players and the pianist, between the three of them, have almost 40 Juno Awards. And we managed to bring all three of them together and round it off with a couple of rhythm section players as a quintet. And that was a really huge hit at the Max Cameron Theatre. We all know that venue. This is a space that we have named the Blue Room, and it's in the basement of Dwight Hall, also known as the Lodge Room, also known as the Freemason space. And I discovered it a few years ago, and I thought, wow, this is the jazz club I always wanted. And it's one of our most popular venues. That is the Alumni Vocal Jazz Ensemble, with students ranging from 18 years old up to people born in 1950-D. Right, so there's a huge age range in there, and for people who graduated from Max Cameron or Brooks over the years, we brought them together and they sang a fabulous concert. Everybody's seen this room before. This is at the brewery. This is one of our free concerts. We also had a free concert at Royal Zyka, as well as some at the school. It's Pierre Coleman and his trio in action. And of course, Dwight Hall. This is my senior jazz band opening up for Wonder Bread for our gala closing concert. And here's the closing concert in action. For anybody who's ever been to one of our gala closing concerts, you'll see a full spectrum of our society, of our community. It's a better word there. Everything from small kids right up to people like my mom comes out to it. There'll be about 100 high school students there and everything in between. It's really, really a beautiful thing. And concert number 12 of our 12 ticketed concerts this year was on Lepine Island. Yes, we finally made it out of the town site, and we decided to go as far as we could reach within the Qathet Regional District. And we had concert number 12 in Lepine. We're referring to that not only as concert number 12, but as a project, the Lepine project. And lucky for me, we have a wonderful Qathet regional chairman who lives on Lepine Island, who was instrumental in helping me set up a concert over there. This is a picture of our ferry coming to pick us up at French Creek. I know that you're all familiar with Lepine. You get over there every year for a meeting, I think. Yeah. And of course, we homestayed. The center, her name is Igul. She is absolutely wonderful, and she donated us her a very rustic log cabin for a couple of days, and was an incredible host. And the 4 young men who have bedhead there the jazz combo from Brook Secondary School. They made the trip over there to open for a professional group called the Ken Lister Trio. And Ken Lister is a former resident of Lasqueti, so it tied together absolutely beautifully. This is the community hall. Is that where the regional district meets when you go over there, or have you seen the community?
No, we meet at the Arts Center.
Oh, the Art Center, yeah. And, oh, I see.
Or the Health Center, I should say.
So this is the beautiful community hall, which has recently had some acoustic work done on it, and it was fabulous for jazz. You can see we had, I think, Chairman Fall said it was almost 20% of the population of Lasqueti came out to the concert, and they were thrilled to see the Ken Lister Trio. And to my surprise, they were equally as thrilled, in my opinion, to see students up there performing. That was a real treat for everybody. I thought I would just tell you a very, very short anecdote. Our students are in Powell River are exposed to professional musicians and other students, and all kinds of relationships occur. On the right is a student, his name is AJ Mulder. He's a wonderful guitar player, and he is sharing a solo with Bill Kuhn, who is, if not BC's finest jazz guitar player, he's right up there. Bill teaches at Capilano University, which has the jazz degree course that is second to none anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. And so they had a chance to spend a couple hours together on the ferries going back and forth. They got to listen to each other perform. They chatted about the university. They performed together. Guess where AJ has just been accepted to go? Capilano University. So that's one of hundreds of little things that happen over the course of our time at the Jazz Festival. And there, of course, is the Ken Lister on the bass there, and his trio performing at that wonderful concert. And all of the trio and the Brooks Quartet and myself in there for a photograph. So in an absolute nutshell inside of a nutshell, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what our festival is about this year. Like I said, the festival was last month, so the dust has settled, and we know where we're at financially. And we also know where there were overruns and where we need, of course, the support of the qathet Regional District, hopefully. One setback for us was the cost of having Pacific Coastal Airlines, I should say, is our title sponsor. And they look after a lot of transportation for us of getting artists to Powell River. And of course, they weren't able to fly in for the festival. So instead of having free transportation for many of our artists, now we have to put them onto different airlines that we don't have those agreements with, and put them on BC ferries and pay for mileage and all that kind of stuff. So as always in all festivals, there's curveballs and so on and so forth, but that definitely was a cost overrun for us. Are there any questions about the festival or about our application this year?
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. And the board's room's very small for me for the moment, so I will see if anyone's got their hand up or speak. Oh, Director Dowd, I see.
I'm just gonna, makes the chair angry. I'm just gonna put a complaint in. Is every year everybody on this board goes to the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Municipalities networking meeting, and we go for the exact time frame of when the Jazz Festival comes. So we're all in Victoria that time. I was trying to find a way to come back from Victoria and take a quick trip over to Lasqueti, but it's not that easy to do. But missed the Jazz Festival incredibly because of the timing. But thanks for doing what you do.
Well, maybe we can help you out next time around, because we're about to start a concert series, and we would like to return to Lasqueti. And especially now that we know what we're doing over there. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and the people, you know, once we had a chance to meet each other and they were to see that, I felt like after we'd been there, they're like, okay, we get it now. Can you come back? We'll really do it up next time, even more than we did this time. So we'll let you know when we visit again.
Yeah, you have to get used to Lasqueti. The travel isn't all that easy.
Yeah, it's beautiful though. It's
We'll
worth
have
it.
to have AVICC here, so we can do both.
So I saw Director Langs, but I'll just put it while we're talking about AVICC, I'll just mention, you know, I was able to get back. I left a little bit early, so I missed about an hour, but I, you know, managed to get back to Lasqueti in time to see the concert on Lasqueti, which was the final day of AVICC. So it was a challenge, but there was a lot of good hands. It wasn't, you know, all on my shoulders. There were probably a dozen or more local, maybe 20 local people really helped step up with food and organizing and driving and accommodations and so on. And the community really appreciated the having that great music on the island. But that's not a question, that's a comment. I will pass it to Director Lennox for a question.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Paul, for your leadership every year on this. And, you know, as one of those 1900s Max Cameron graduates out of jazz choir and jazz band, I guess I better get my act together and get involved. I was with the other directors, unfortunately unable to attend, but the feedback is amazing. And I happen to be in Cheraw, South Carolina, which is the birthplace of Dizzy Gillespie. So I've been thinking about jazz music a little bit as I walked around this beautiful city. So I can tell, you know, there's a lot of history involved. I guess I saw in your application, I really appreciate that expansion and that desire to get out to the hinterlands and, you know, even through Savory on there and some of the other islands. And so, you know, hopefully you got that in your mind. If we could get you over there, that'd be great. And we also have a new Northside Recreation Center that's going to be built soon that we'd like to see how the sound is for you out there. So just an offer. Thanks.
I'm sorry, that's on Savory?
No, Lund.
Oh, out at Lund. Okay, yeah. Yep.
He's Director McCormick.
Thank you. So my question is, Paul, how would you like to come out to Texada? We have some great musicians that I can put you in touch with and a very active musical community. There's concerts at least once a month. And yeah, we'd love to have you out here. That's it. My question, will you come to Texada?
Okay, we'd love to. Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I'd just like to say, obviously you've set the bar quite high for yourself and for other music groups in the region. So, you know, Lasqueti's hoping that not only will Townside Jazz come back, but that other groups will come. And obviously there's a request for Townside Jazz to go out to the far-flung reaches of the region. So I think that's great. I think it makes it really regionally beneficial. And we appreciate you coming before us. We will be considering the application at our next meeting.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay,
Cummins.
thanks everybody.
Thank you for coming, Paul.
Okay, so our next delegation is by Mr. Fraser, Community Coordinator from Everybody Deserves a Smile Community Project Society.
Good afternoon, Directors, Chair. So I had the honor of knowing and working with all of you before, but I am Mac Fraser. I'm one of the community coordinators of Everybody Deserves a Smile qathet. So first and foremost, thank you very much to the board for the provision of a grant and aid for $2,500 to assist us in 2023. Everybody Deserves a Smile qathet is a nonprofit organization that in partnership with School District 47 has completed its 5th year of operation. Henderson Elementary School is the lead school, and our program is now active in every school in the district. When I sat in front of you last year, Director Fall very rightly said, what about Lasqueti? It's logistically challenging for us, so we have talked to our contemporaries in the Nanaimo chapter about reaching out to Lasqueti. So we are throughout School District 47, but we're not quite throughout qathet Regional District. So life would be easier if there was a chapter in Parksville or Qualicum, but we're trying to expand from Nanaimo. So we're trying to do justice to that. So as you probably remember, the program has two major components, education and social action. The social action component consists of producing hand-painted kindness bags filled with a homemade card, baked goods, baked cookies, warm clothing accessories, and toiletries for people in need in our region. These bags are the culmination of the other major component, a heartfelt, intentional educational program that is offered to school students aimed at developing and building understanding and empathy of those who are vulnerable in our community. So the visible are the bags, but I think you all realize the bags are a component, but they're not our main thrust. The main thrust is with School District 47, instilling understanding and empathy to the vulnerable people in our region. It's a proactive approach. Some would even say a preemptive approach. It sets the tone for the social action for the life of these students before, let's say, societal pressures might push them in other directions. So Matt Hull is the principal of Henderson School and has shared the following comments about Everybody Deserves a Smile qathet. Quote, Henderson Elementary School is committed to continuing to build educational resources at the school to help teach kids the value of empathy, care, and compassion through the involvement of teachers and carrying on the conversation throughout the year. Importantly, Everybody Deserves a Smile qathet is helping to positively influence the citizens of tomorrow and how they will lead our community. So I've said to you, there are two components, educational and social action. I would be very remiss if I didn't say thank you in this forum to School District 47, who covers all aspects of the educational. We're in all the schools in the region. We're involving all the elementary students, and Brooks is providing support through a Big Buddy system with the younger children when we assemble the bags, as well as production of the cookies. So it's across the whole school district. And that is not any part of the funding application or the budget that we have. School District 47 has it all covered. Over the past 5 years, the need for kindness bags has grown, as has the need for community sport, with the production of 534 bags this past year. We set a goal, a cap of 500 this year. Very reasonable requests came in that took us up to 534, but we're not only involving all the students in the school district, but we're also arguably at the maximum capacity for producing the bags. So this is 5 times the number produced for our community in our first year in 2019. Our program has evolved to meet the needs of our community and has expanded from serving just underhoused individuals to now include vulnerable families and seniors as identified through our work with the following social service agencies. So as you might remember, we are not reinventing the wheel. There are 11 organizations we work with that are providing phenomenal services to the community on a day-to-day basis, and they tell us how many bags they can distribute, and it goes out to all parts of the regional district, except for Waskedia, as I mentioned. So the groups we work with, the social services agencies, Inclusion Powell River through the Jerry Gray Place program, LIFT through the Community Resource Center, the Cold Weather Shelter, Supportive Housing, and the CARE program, Salvation Army, Lang Bay Community Society, Texada Island Community Society, Nicolet Recovery Center, qathet Safe through Property Law and Grace House, and Common Health. The high need for kindness bags in our region brings with it an increased challenge in getting donations. Unfortunately, there's a positive correlation to the need to help more people and the reduced ability of the remainder of us to help those people. Due to the current economy, more people are in need, and likewise, fewer people can afford to donate to our program. This is why we are asking you for grant and aid funds again this year. So one of our objectives is to strive to become self-sustaining, that we would survive simply on donations. We are gaining on that. I'm sure in many aspects of what you do for the region, you understand that we're in a post-pandemic ramp up. Things are getting better. About 35% of our annual operating budget, again, only for the kindness bags expenses, is cash donations. So we've asked the city yourselves. First Credit has come back on as a major sponsor, and the Powell River Rotary Club. So our budget has grown by $2,000 to just over $19,000 from last year. And we're not projecting any more output. We're looking at the same kindness bags, the same expenses of a slight administration costs, but the cost has just gone up $2,000 because of inflation. So we are working hard to finish the sustainability efforts to get the production and donation of the material goods we need for the kindness bags up. Now, you might also notice in our budget that we have a carryover of material from year to year and a carryover of cash. We buy, when we need to buy, we buy as much locally as possible. We clean out the dollar store, we clean out Walmart. We actually found ourselves competing with other chapters of EDAS in Vancouver Island. I'm here to tell you, my wife and I got to 6 stores before the others did, and we cleaned them out. So the inherent challenge we have is the time of year we operate. We'd like to maximize and optimize donations, but we need to have the ability to produce 500 bags, regardless of whether donations match it that year or not. So we're carrying over material, we're carrying over cash for purchase and such. So thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. And again, thank you for your grant and aid in 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser. So I'll open up for questions. Director Gisborne.
Yeah, thank you, Mac, for the work you're doing. You actually answered a lot of the questions with your presentation. Great to hear about your program, building up the moral character of our next generation. I think that's something that we all need. I am also very happy to hear that you're striving to be self-sustaining. That's something that I always have an issue when I see some applications that keep getting bigger. So that's really good to hear. So then my question comes down to, you know, the time of year that you're operating and the material goods that you're needing. Because I'm involved with a bunch of other organizations and I talked to a lot of folks. How can folks contribute? What time of year are you looking for these contributions? And should I just send them to you?
Well, we will start advertising in October for drop-off. The simplest thing is every school in the school district can receive donations of clothing and material once we're set up in October. We have previously had donation boxes in other parts of the community. There was limited use of that, but we might look at it again. And we will have a blitz. Basically, we get the students back in class and September is ramping up for them. And then October, we start to get going on EDAS.
Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
Are there any other questions? I have a question, and I appreciate you reaching out to the other chapters and considering the Skidi. My question is, I guess I don't fully understand the EDAS structure. So are the chapters organized by school district? Is that how they define coverage, or do they cover some geographic area and then try to work to expand that?
History is a classic nonprofit organization. It's the organic growth from a limited number of people. I think there were 3 college colleagues in Edmonton who decided that they needed to do something for the homeless in that city. And those 3 people have 20 years later gone off, all 3 of them into the education sector and expanded. So to speak to your point directly, Everybody Deserves a Smile is a nonprofit organization where the leader is based in Courtenay. Each chapter, and the chapters are Powell River, Comox Valley, Campbell River, Nanaimo, Victoria, Red Deer, Edmonton, and there is distribution in East Vancouver, Victoria, Montreal, and London, England. So Chantal Stephan is the inspirational leader that has got us going, but I'm sure you probably picked this up in the application. we are very dedicated that every cent that we raise, everything that we do stays in Powell River, stays in Quebec.
That's good. That's clarify, because it seems so. And each chapters, I guess, just as a short follow-up, each chapter is fairly independent in how they operate. I suppose each
Yes,
has
they
your
are.
own financials and so on.
Although the application that we put in might confuse, where it says, please send money to a bank account in Courtney. That's because the organization has one financial structure, one society status, and then it's distributed. So chapters get back what they raise, but we don't have 8 different budget systems. We have one.
Okay. Are there any other questions from around the table? Seeing none, I thank you very much for coming to us. That was it's very nice to hear from you, and we will consider the application.
Thank you very much.
Our next meeting.
It is the support of the regional district for the last 3 years that has made us be able to expand and succeed as we have. So thank you very much.
So before we go into our next, I just want to offer to the board, in between any delegations, if someone has a need for a bio break, just request. So I'll ask right now, does anyone want a bio break for 5 minutes, or do you want to continue on? And seeing no one answering, so if someone has a need, try to wait to the next presentation and get my attention. Okay, so our next delegation is Ariel, Turcotte, Zella, Knutson, and Joan Fischer, Powell River Compassionate Friends Society. Welcome to us, and you have 10 minutes to present, and then we'll have an opportunity for questions from the board, and there's a timer on the screen.
Hi, thank you for having me today. I'm here by myself today as the other chapter leaders weren't available. My name's Ariel Turcotte. I'm the chapter leader of Powell River Compassionate Friends. You may wonder how one begins this journey of connecting to the Compassionate Friends, or TCF. In July of 2019, our only son, Hayden, at the time 22, his girlfriend, Maddie, and his best bud, Tyrell, were in a car crash. Hayden and Maddie died. Tyrell survived. In the blink of an eye, our lives were forever changed. We were lost. People do not think about death or dying or what to do when something like this happens. While searching for ways to process our grief, we were connected with the North Vancouver chapter of Compassionate Friends. There we found support, understanding, and a place to really be heard. The Compassionate Friends was started over 55 years ago. Compassionate Friends is a peer support network of people who have experienced a similar loss. We serve parents, grandparents, and siblings who have lost a child at any age and from any cause. Although there is a place for therapy or counseling, I found that was not enough. I found the peer support so critical. I found people like me. I found others who suffered traumatic losses as well. It is not a natural loss to lose a child. It is not in the natural order. To be surrounded by others in a chapter setting who could hear me, understand me, was very validating at a time when it was impossible to see any future. I remember my first meeting and hearing that some parents had been coming for as little as a few months, some for 30 years. I thought, 30 years? I'm going to be coming here for that long? But then I realized that some of the people who had been here longer were not here for themselves, but to give back to newly bereaved parents. They were here for me. I could see people living again. I did not have any idea how to move forward, but just watching and listening, I understood that perhaps there were steps that over time I might learn. I found the language to use for the death of my son. People who have lost a son have a much longer trajectory of wanting to hear about our children. They would listen to stories about Hayden and Maddie. We were connected together because of our loss. Our differences did not matter. Age, socioeconomic, these boundaries disappear because of our common experience. My husband and I continued to go to monthly meetings until February of 2020. With COVID, I knew that we needed TCF meetings to continue Therefore, the North Vancouver chapter created our first monthly Zoom meeting. The Zoom meetings continue to this day and have become an important connection for bereaved parents that cannot attend a TCF in-person meeting. In November of 2020, my husband and I moved to Powell River. I had already started the planning of reestablishing the TCF chapter here. Powell River Compassionate Friends was formed in 2021. I wanted to give the same support to others that had been given to me. I wanted to give them hope. In September 2021, we had our first meeting. Over 14 parents attended, confirming the need for Compassionate Friends. We have held monthly meetings ever since. In addition, Compassionate Friends has a yearly tradition, a candlelight ceremony. Parents bring a picture of their children to display, and we light a candle for each child. We also light 4 special inspirational candles, one for love, courage, growth, and hope. I brought a picture of Hayden, the biggest, best one we had. I shared some memories of Hayden. Other people shared about their children. I cried, I felt lost, and yet connected. So many emotions were present, but I was in a safe place to share my feelings around this Christmas. I felt alive, I felt love, courage, growth, and hope. On the second Sunday in December each year, there is a Compassionate Friends worldwide candlelight program. At 7 p.m. across the world in every time zone, candles are lit for all of our children who have gone too soon. It is a way for parents to connect before Christmas with their children who are no longer here. I wrote an article for May's issue of Qathet Living this May, regarding our memorial garden at Holy Cross Cemetery. Powell River Compassionate Friends has a memorial plaque in memory of all our children. On Mother's Day, 15 parents gathered. We added flowers to our garden, shared snacks, read our credo, "We need not walk alone," and shared stories of our children. Last year, I went to my first Compassionate Friends retreat in Seebeck, Washington. As I drove the incredibly long distance, I was inspired to plan a retreat for Compassionate Friends in BC. Our first retreat, Nurturing Our Souls, will take place at Bethlehem Retreat Center in Nanaimo this September. We filled the 30 spaces in less than 3 weeks and have a wait list. Many Powell River and Qathet Regional District parents are attending. This community program has attracted 7 volunteers that have come together to help plan the retreat, apply for CRA incorporation, and to help grow Compassionate Friends awareness. In the past 2 months, 4 more parents have reached out to us for information, and 2 more have attended our in-person meetings. Many bereaved parents need to take time off work. They may even lose their jobs, or they also might not be able to do the job that they were doing before their child died. We are subsidizing our retreat in order to ensure that money does not exclude those who need to attend. We are working with the RCMP Victim Services, Four Tides Hospice Society, and other healthcare providers to enhance awareness of the Powell River Compassionate Friends. With funding by the Qathet Regional District, we could make our online and media presence larger. We want to enable people to talk about grief. We would do this by having in-person grief talks, more articles and advertising, teaching people tools to support themselves and families in grief. There was a letter that was included with the material for this. I don't know if you all read it. I can read it. It was from, it's from one of the parents of our chapter. We remember the day like it was yesterday. I don't think you ever forget the phone call which changes your life. On June 24th, 2021, our son Matt was found dead. He had died from fentanyl poisoning. After that phone call, our lives just stopped. As parents, your job is to help your kids. Be there for them, protect them, and guide them on their paths. Suddenly, that path for our son was gone, and we felt lost. After everyone came to say their goodbyes to Matt at his service, we felt from many of our family and friends, well, this was hard, but life moves on, and you have 2 daughters and grandchildren, so you'll be fine. Only we weren't fine, we were lost. My husband saw the ad for the Powell River Compassionate Friends in the Qathet Living magazine. He showed it to me, and we gave them a call. We decided to attend a meeting to see if it was for us.
The Powell River Compassionate Friends helped us to keep our son's memory present and real. He is real to us and to all the group, as are their children to us. They all know Matt, and we know all of their children through our meetings and sharing. We learned how to cope with the questions such as, how are your kids these days? And how many children do you have? These normal questions had become the worst social questions we could imagine. With the Powell River Compassionate Friends, we learned how to navigate these questions, keep Matt's memory alive with us and our family and friends, and be there for him and our daughters and grandchildren. We are still often lost, alone, confused, and sad. The Compassionate Friends credo is we need not walk alone, and they have helped us in a way no one else could have. Grief is not a condition that can be treated. Grieving families are not broken and do not need to be fixed. Grief is a healing process that takes a long time, much longer than most people would expect, and requires ongoing support, understanding, and friendship from those who have been there. I found this with the Compassionate Friends. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. Now I'll open it up for questions from directors, if there are any around the table. Director Brander.
Thanks very much for coming today. I was a little bit unclear as to actually how much you're asking for.
$20,000.
And one more, like how many QRD residents would you anticipate attending this retreat? I get the impression that it's opened up to a much larger geographical area.
It's opened up to the BC chapters. We have 10 people from the Qathet region and Powell River going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? None. I want to thank you very much for presenting to us. We will be considering this at our next Finance Committee meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. I also just brought some pamphlets, brochures that you're welcome to keep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. So our next presentation is from Ms. Cathy Brown and Ms. Rita Dubman, Texada Island Nonprofit Seniors Housing Society, or TINSHS for short. Ms. Brown, you have so you see on the screen there's a timer. You have 10 minutes. They'll restart it because I'm talking. I won't take into your time. But thank you for presenting to us. We have you'll have the floor, and then there'll be opportunity for questions.
Thank you, Director Fall and Chair. I think all of the board here is familiar with us by now. We keep showing up. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm the president of Texada Island Nonprofit Seniors Housing Society. Our mission is to build safe, affordable seniors housing on Texada Island. This is predominantly for low income, but we know that we'll have to have a mixed income program to have our housing work. So the options are for low to medium income seniors. We have a predominantly senior population, as has been mentioned before, and many of these folks don't have a home suitable for aging in place. And although our core offering will be in the future when the housing is built, our planning process has involved a number of community events to share the progress, solicit feedback, and to raise funds for land purchase, which we've been progressing quite nicely on. The events that we have partaken in have had the effect of bringing people together post-COVID and generating hope amongst Texadans that there may be an option to plan for an extended future on this island, being able to remain with their families, known, and long-term community support allows for healthier living and better over quality of life. It also allows us to not lean heavily on the Powell River and Qathet resources. I'm going to pass it over to Rita Dubman to explain the bigger project.
Hi there, I'm Rita. I am the project director for TINSHS, and I'll just go over the application. So as you're well aware, this is a bigger multi-million-dollar project. And let me open this up somewhere I can. Here. And the only way to tackle it is in bite-sized pieces. So to understand what all those pieces are and how they fit together, we've engaged a development and construction manager to help us put together a roadmap for the entirety of the project, stage by stage. So the main phases of the roadmap are phase 1, which was to establish need, phase 2, which is feasibility, phase 3, design, phase 4, pre-construction, phase 5, procurement, phase 6, construction, and phase 7, operations. So we've completed phase 1 by conducting our Texada Seniors Housing Needs Study, and the results suggest, as we already know, of course, that there is a strong need for affordable age-friendly housing, which we plan to deliver. We're now in the feasibility stage of the project, and a key component of project feasibility is site feasibility. So as you probably know, our site is currently pending exclusion from the ALR, thanks to all the support from the QRD to put in the hefty application. We believe that this site is as close to ideal for our project as we can find. However, we still need to make sure that we understand any major limitations or fatal flaws it has before we commit to it. So aspects of the site that we need to investigate include any potential issues related to the ground and soils, geotechnical, access and egress, utilities, septic, and site layout. So our development and construction manager, who has over 30 years of experience in construction, will guide and oversee this process of investigating the land. And we have also included in this phase legal costs related to closing on the land purchase. We expect this work to take place throughout the summer and fall of this year. And once this phase of the project is complete, we will have the land at hand and full confidence in our ability to go forward with construction. There's a lot of work to do here, especially if any follow-up investigation is required. So we're applying to the Green Municipal Fund for stacking funds, and we'll also use existing resources that we have from the Community Housing Transformation Center and the Vancouver Foundation Recovery and Resiliency Fund to cover some of these costs. And in addition, we'll be adding our own capital campaign funds to actually purchase the land, and Selkirk Mountain Forest is donating 80% of the assessed value of the land to TINSHS. So there's a lot of partners here to make this happen. So our ask of the QRD is only about a quarter of the cost of the site investigations and legal, or of the potential cost, because the full scope will become apparent as we start. And less than 10% of the cost of due diligence combined with land acquisition. And of course, it's only a small fraction of the cost of the full project. However, it is a keystone component, as the acquisition of suitable land is foundational to the project success, and ensuring that our site is suitable is therefore critical. Now, as you know, our application for this site is still pending ALR exclusion, and we will know whether it has been successful before we receive any potential funding from the QRD, based on the timeline. So in the case that our application is declined, we would apply any funding to vetting a different site. So this due diligence work would have to be part of any property we seriously consider for building on. So that's the application, and I just want to say we really appreciate the continuing efforts and support of the QRD board and staff. We consider you a key partner in our project, and we look forward to seeing it come to fruition together.
there any questions?
May I add one thing to Rita's comments? On
Yes.
behalf of us, is that if it were to be that it's not something that the QRD would like to do, is leaving finances for the next site, if that's what happens, we could always decline the funds in time for your next round of grants that are coming up in August. We would have a good idea by then.
Thank you for that. Director McCormick, I saw you unmuted. I think you had a question.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation, Cathy and Rita. This is an ongoing project for a number of years that the residents of the island are very much behind. My question is about the support that you've had. You've had really excellent support from the community and a number of fundraising initiatives that you've put on. There's more to come. Can you tell me how far along the fundraising ladder that you are in terms of raising the needed funds, and how much more is left to go?
Our capital campaign that we started last fall is now at 195,450. That's our thermometer. That of course includes the donation in kind from Selkirk Mountain Forest. And we're still waiting for a couple of pledges that have not been received yet. So we feel very well supported by the community that way. And the different grantors have been very supportive in their optimism for our project.
To add to that.
Thank you.
To add to that, Sandy, Director McCormick, we have, I think with the pledges that are coming in and the funds we've raised, we have sufficient funds to purchase this parcel. So once the approval comes through for the ALC, assuming it does, we have enough to close.
Thank you. That was kind of where I was going, and that's really excellent news. So thank you very much for that. Good luck.
I see Director Doe.
Yeah, just reading through the presentation, you've got two things that appear to be happening at the same time, or orders. One is assessing the suitability of the site for building, and the other one is purchasing the property. You plan on purchasing the property and assessing the suitability after, or assessing the suitability first and purchasing the property later?
Assessing the critical pieces of suitability first to make sure that it's not a dud, and then any follow-up investigation to figure out any details once we know that the site is kind of bare bones okay, can happen after or before, depending on, again, the timing of approval, the timing of subdivision of the parcel. Those things are a little more flexible, but we would do any critical work first before we purchased.
Thank you.
Director Gisborne.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I know this is still going through the ALC's matrix and all their hurdles. Have you heard any timeline on when you expect to hear back on their decision on whether it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
We meet with the Agricultural Land Commission in Burnaby on June 19th, and I will be attending in person, as well as perhaps 2 other board members and an agrologist from Madrone who did our report. We are told, unless there is something outrageous that they need more information on, that we can expect a reply in July.
Okay. And my follow-up question is, so you're doing the assessment on whether or not the parcel can meet the, the building and the civil engineering part. And I think I heard Rita say, in the hopes that it's not a dud. So I guess my question would be, if it does come back as being a dud, but it does get excluded from the ALR, what's the plan with that scenario? Unlikely as it is, because usually if it's not good for farming, it's better for building, because swamps are great for farming but bad for building. So
Yeah. I cannot speak on behalf of Selkirk, but I know that they are not in the business of selling real estate for any purpose. This is an exception that they've taken on for us as a contribution to the community and a legacy for them. If it were offered up as excludable but not buildable, I would have to ask them what they would do. But in everything that we have seen, they've no intentions of selling it off for any other reason. It was hard enough for us to get them to agree to interact with us.
And my very last question, to be very quick, I heard 25% as the figure being requested, and I see in the application anticipated fund QRD social planning grant 25,000. Is that the amount that's being asked of the regional district? Is that 25,000, or is there another amount that I'm missing?
Correct, 25,000.
Okay, that's no further questions from me, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other burning questions? I see none, and we're done with our question time. So thank you, Ms. Brown and Ms. Dubman, and for coming before us. And we will be considering your application at a future meeting.
Thank you for your consideration and time.
Okay, so our next delegation is Brandon Lepine, Regional Production Services Manager, and Astra Balogh, location photographer from Vancouver Island North Film Commission, INfilm.
Yes, hello. Sorry, just getting my camera started up. There we go. Hey, that looks right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the time and opportunity to give a little presentation on our INfilm's request for funding, grant and aid. My name is Brandon Lepine. I am the Regional Production Services Manager for the Vancouver Island North Film Commission. Brandon at INfilm. We're a not-for-profit society charged with attracting and servicing film in the municipalities and regions we service. I won't take much of your time. It's been a long meeting, but in 2023, we had a very slow year globally in film due to the Screen Actors and Writers Guild strikes. Those happened from March to December and essentially shut down production globally. We did, on the other hand, get a variance for the production Can I Get a Witness? That was filmed in June, July in Powell River in the qathet region. For film, usually I think most government things, the numbers are about a year behind. So we've gotten the numbers for Can I Get a Witness? I just wanted to briefly review them. For the feature film, the total budget was $4 million. The total spend in the qathet regional district was $2.3 million. So over half the budget went directly into the economy. Of those numbers, 12 on travel and accommodations was $415,000. And the travel was split between BC Ferries for a crew, and then they got a favorable deal with city transfer to barge over all the equipment. We're finding that's a much more economic method of bringing production to qathet region and then parts of northern Vancouver Island as well. The crew was actually split between 40 separate addresses throughout the region, throughout Powell River and the regional district, spread everywhere. In total, there were 100 crew members. They tried hiring local as much as possible, but unfortunately, the majority of the crew did come from the lower mainland, making up those accommodation numbers. The total shoot was only 15 days. Prep was about 2 weeks, wrap was about a week. So for about a month of activity, the total return was $2.3 million off one production. And again, that was a production that was able to get a variance to shoot throughout the strike. Moving forward, May 1st, I was able to attend the qathet International Film Festival. I met with Gary Schilling, the organizer and president of the Film Society. My main reason for attending was to fly the flag and then speak at a couple workshops to really discuss training opportunities and the need for more trained crew. as we found out with Can We Get a Witness? Also to talk about our location scouting and our locations kit that we leveraged a Reddit grant to purchase. This is a kit, about $100,000 value, that we are offering free of charge for local producers. Any local producers or productions, we want to help kickstart their productions by removing this cost. Not only the cost of the kit, but transporting it, bringing it from Vancouver, all of it. We want to eliminate it all. It's one way we're trying to help boost productions. Another key thing I did at the film festival was speaking with Gary. He introduced me to a young local photographer, Astra. Astra has been contracted under the Red Dip grant we achieved. We leveraged and then got awarded. Long story short, we're hoping to capture 200 location files for the Qathet Regional District. This number of files for any regional district for any area makes it a global competitor. Astra, we contacted, interviewed, trained. I want to thank Gary Schilling with the Film Society for helping with that. And actually, Astra is in attendance in person in the meeting. And I'm just going to turn it over for her for a minute. So Astra, if you'd like to stand and say a few words.
Hi, I don't know if we're on yet. I'm on here. Okay, good. I'm Astra. I was hired by Brandon to do locations photography in the region. I just started last month. As he said, I'm trying to get 150 to 200 locations. I've done 40 already. So I just went to Texada on the weekend and managed to photograph 10 locations while I was there. Did a bit of a whirlwind tour. And just introducing myself to let you guys know that I'm here. The contract's for another year. So if anyone knows of any locations in the region that you think may be good filming locations, I have business cards. And if there's areas that I might not be able to find out about because I've only lived here for 4 years, you may be able to help me figure out more locations that would be appropriate for filming. And I think that's about it. I've done some of the regional parks, but I've done lots of the outdoor locations that were easiest to get to that I don't need permissions. I'm in touch with the city. I'm doing some city locations this week. And I don't know if there's other regional locations you guys can tell me about.
Great, thank you very much. Now we'll open up the floor. Or do you have further? Sorry, Brandon, did you have further?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Yes, Astra, so one with a few words. If any of you have properties, know somebody who has a property and they're like, hey, that would look great in a movie, hit Astra up. She's brought some cards. And yeah, she was able to make it to Texada this weekend. We were trying to cover as many of the islands as possible, the entire regional district. Little side note, I got a call on Sunday over the long weekend, a property owner in Texada thanking us for bringing Astra out for documenting her farm, and she looks forward to having Brad Pitt there. As far as productions moving forward, just as recently as last Thursday, I sent out a location package for a small feature film looking for locations. Several of them in the Qathet region really hit the mark. So it's an ongoing process. I did send out our economic impact report for 2022 and 2023. I just briefly wanted to hit a couple of the keynotes. For 2022, 2023, even with the strikes, INfilm was able to, with production, bring in $11.8 million in film spending in our service area. To date, from the inception of the commission, 597 projects. 2022, 2023 was 59 projects, a much lower number than usual, but with the strikes, no union production, that was still pretty good. We weathered much better than major film hubs like Vancouver. Our portfolio is very diverse, not only union feature films, but documentaries, natural history, reality makes up a large chunk of our portfolio. And then our skills training, we offer our tuition-free skills training. To date, we've leveraged $3.7 million in provincial funding for approximately 500 graduates to date. We are continuing our training, and I just want to finish with, any of you have any properties you think would look great in film, I recommend contacting Astra. And if you know pockets of film crews, people that want to be film crews, contact me and see what I can do. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Any questions I can hopefully answer right now.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So I see Director McCormick and then Director Gisborne. Director McCormick and Director Elliott.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping that you can. Thank you for your great presentation. Thank you for coming out to Texada. I'm curious, when you do sort of familiarization fam trips out to different parts of the region, are you looking for a particular thing? In other words, do you get a request for a shoot overlooking a valley, or on a mountaintop, or are you looking for specific things, or are you just kind of generally developing a library of what's out there?
That is an excellent question. Thank you, Director McCormick. With our location photographers, part of the beauty of the Reddit is ordinarily we're just capturing locations, things that would bring productions to the area. We've moved past that now. We're no longer getting productions just looking for big mountains and waterfalls, old growth, and killer whales. Now they are looking to do entire chunks of filming, gas stations, supermarkets. So when we scout, originally we're capturing images. Perhaps that's stuff that's come to our attention, updating existing files, or just as Astra's doing, finding her way throughout the regional district. That's part of the reason we hired the locals. They have the information. Maybe people outside don't. The beauty of this Reddit grant is now we've had a scout shoot those photos. Now I send them to a production. Let's say they like them because they're broad general, but they want something specific. We're able to send Astra back and shoot it in real time, getting a real-time response rather than when we can get someone to do it. And then the third, and to me, key element is we now have a location scout familiar with the area. When a production wants to scout the area, we can now direct them to the person who shot the photos, keeping coastal and island workers working rather than bringing people from Vancouver to do the jobs that we're capable of doing. And by building this up and building up this trust with productions and this pool of workers, we're going to attract more production. The number one complaint out of LA, Hollywood, is there's not enough trained people in Canada. And we are actively doing that. 500 graduates to date since 2017. And we just want to keep growing those numbers. If you know anybody who's even curious about filming, send them my way. It's part of the services we offer, and we can help them find their path.
Thank you very much. Maybe you can send your contact info to staff and we can get it later.
Of course, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Gisborne.
Yeah, it's a little different, but it ties into the presentation. Our regional district, as you might be aware, doesn't have building permits in the rural area. So as a result, we end up with some very unique looking properties. The look on the delegate's face is confirming that. So hearing that kind of gives you, in my opinion, or what I'm kind of hearing is that would be kind of like a broader opportunity for filming in our region rather than, okay, here's a whole bunch of houses, they all look the same. It's like, oh, well, each property does things differently, and therefore, if you want to do a film, you can actually get more of your shots done locally, is kind of what I'm hearing. So I would actually love a card, because I do know some hidden gems out there.
I'm gonna give you all of these.
And I'll hand them around.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting about how that's an asset, this uniqueness in our rural areas.
I'll tell you what I had shot on Texada, interestingly, because I went thinking, oh, I'll just do the regional park shelter point and I'll do just the basic things that you would think of. But then as I was driving around, I would see a location and then just stop and get out and ask. And I ended up doing this Dave's Garage, which is the lady that actually called Brandon. And he just had like these huge garages and they're full of cool old cars and vintage signing and vintage signs, and it's just fascinating. And they were super happy to have me in there. So that's the kind of thing, like I have a list of what I'm supposed to get, which are the parks and the outdoor spaces. But then when I find something unique, like I'll just go give them a letter and a business card, because we do have lots of things that would look super great on film.
Yeah, when I was doing door to door about 5 years ago, there were certain properties you go down a road and you're like, this is something that Hollywood couldn't even make.
Yeah, we have some great stuff. Every time I look around now, I just look at it in a different way.
Thank you. That's it from me, Chair.
Thank you, Director Gisborne. Director Elliott.
So I noticed that Astra was trying to add something to earlier. Did you get a chance to say what you needed, that you were trying to add to?
Oh, just that we do get requests. Brandon gets requests, and then he'll put them to the group of location scouts, because the lady on Texada, sorry, I don't remember your name. Oh, Sandy.
Director McCormick.
Yeah. You had asked if we get requests, and Brandon does get specific requests. So one, for instance, is a mansion on the water side that is isolated, and I don't personally know someone that has that location, and we do get those requests. So there are specific requests, as well as the broad general. Get a grocery store, get a elementary school. So we do get the specific things as well.
So then my question is, the training of staff, do you go to the local high school and promote what types of things we're most in need of, and that people who are most likely to work locally, depending on which training they choose? Is there like an education of the young people and outreach?
I don't know if Brandon's gonna answer.
Yes, Director Elliott. So the education aspect, we have a few different avenues. So we've partnered with North Island College starting in 2017 to deliver tuition-free micro-credential union-accredited film courses. As far as we know, we are the only, we know we're the only ones in Canada, most likely North America, perhaps the world, the only film commission doing this. We find funders and we present these courses. With the BC Stronger grant that was shopped around last year by the provincial government, our funding model changed a bit. But if I can give an example, might clarify it the most. Gibson's just wrapped filming on Murder in a Small Town, not within our service region, but the producers had filmed Chesapeake Shores for many years in Qualicum, so they're quite familiar with us. Warner Brothers, who that wasn't even their production. Can I Get a Murder Small Town had nothing to do with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers picked up the tab for the training for production with another company, because they recognize that eventually they're going to get to filming in that area and they'll have established crew. Using our partnership with North Island College, we offer that kind of training. Additionally, we work with nonprofit societies. Off the top of my mind, the Youth Media Project out of Courtney Art Gallery. They take troubled at-risk youth and do their own film program, and then they do a couple documentaries, and it just teaches them a life skill. I go down for each program, each intake, spend a day talking with them, talking about film opportunities and that. And then the other way we work with it is we're just a clearinghouse for information. Productions are looking for individual people, individuals. We'll reach out to try to find them. And like I said, we do our union training, we do our North Island College training, we do outreach, and then yes, speak with any organization that wants us to, and get them on our crew database if we can.
Thank you. And I have I know we're over time, but I have a very brief question, which is, you mentioned, it's hard to get to the outlying reaches. Well, I live on one of the outlying reaches of qathet. So I guess the question is twofold. One, do you have plans to come to do some shoots on Lasqueti for locations, or how can property owners here find out more about opportunities, because there are some unusual places on Lasqueti. The whole island's unusual. So that's the question, is how can Lasqueti participate, I guess.
I will have to double check this. I know last year, was asked about training on Lasqueti. So I looked into it a little bit. My understanding is that Lasqueti does not want filming on the island. There's not enough infrastructure, and the inconvenience may be too great for the residents. That may be old information. That's what I told. I'll happily look into it. The more locations we get, the more filming we can attract, the stronger our municipalities and our regions will be. So if there is a change from what I know, if I'm mistaken, happily reach out to Lasqueti to find out about it. I assume Director Fall, you'd be the person I'd talk to?
You can talk to me. And I think in general, I mean, I think when there's, say, documentaries about Lasqueti is where you might have more sensitivities when it's kind of people feel like they're under a microscope. But I think a film, that's not about Lasqueti, but a location film, I don't think people would have concerns about it, and they might be happy that, the services are being used and the island's being used. So, but yes, reach out to me. So I will, I don't see any other burning questions, but I will thank you for coming to us and delegating, and we will be considering this at our next Finance Committee meeting.
Terrific. Thank you very much for your time. I wish everyone a good day.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Okay, our last delegation is Mr. Gary Schilling, the Executive Director, Qathet Film Society.
The most patient man in the room.
And thank you for,
No, you will be in patience for
follow
sure.
up there. You got to watch everyone ahead, but yes, you have 10 minutes and the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to see me. Thank you for all the time you give to the community. And it's interesting to follow the last presentation because, the Qathet Film Society's mission is to cultivate film as an economic, a cultural, and an educational force in the community. And I'm here today to talk to you about one of our educational components, which is our film camp that we run for youth. It's in its 16th year this year. This is our third year using the model where we source the campers and the mentors from the Qathet Regional District. We provide the 4-day intensive film camp with 5 mentors and 28 campers, and they each produce, they're in groups of 5 or 6 campers. They produce a short film. We show it at the Patricia Theater. The community comes. We had great support last year, about 150 people in the audience, if I recall. And we think it's of course, we're a film society. We believe that film is a great way to tell stories, and that media literacy, whether it's for youth or for adults, helps develop a critical eye and ear in this time where there's so much media, let's just say, information floating around and so many contradictory things. And so we aim this year for the age group from about 11 to 14. And we will begin, so we do an intake where we usually get about 40 or 50 applications, and then we look at the applications. We have a short questionnaire that they fill in, and we do a mix of students that have been at our camp in previous years with new ones. We do a good age mix, and we shoot locally in the region. Most often we stay pretty close to town site where the theater is. That's where we run the camp. We spread them out in different groups throughout the theater. And certainly our recent ownership of the theater helps facilitate that. And so it's a good development tool for local filmmakers to build their chops as teachers, for youth to get a sense of what it's like to make a film, and for the community just to support and celebrate the talent that we have here. Our primary funder for this is BC Gaming. As usual in my life, I don't usually find out that we get funding until the events are well planned and well underway. Luckily, the Film Society is in a position where we have buffer funds, and if we have shortfalls in funding, we still go ahead with our programming. I think that's about it. I know everybody's probably itching to get out of here. I'm hoping to catch the chopping block before it closes, but at 4. And are there any questions for me?
Well, thank you very much. And there's no hurry. You left us with 6 extra minutes, but we have time for questions. So I will open to the floor. Director Doubt.
And I just want to say thanks for coming, Gary. And I was at the Patricia yesterday, seeing a film made by a local person with their university class and telling a local story about the area and the mortuary poles that were brought back here and have been gone since about 1911. Great story, great to be able to see that in the community and these kind of things being created locally. And they couldn't do that without the Patricia being here and the Film Society being here. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, part of our goal is to connect local stories with stories from around the world and to support community groups that have their stories to tell, because we do think film is a great storyteller.
Thank you. Director Gisborne, then Director Elliott.
No, I'll let Director Elliott go.
Okay, Director Elliott, it's all yours.
Thank you, Gary. So my question is, you're gonna run this camp and you've got primary funders. Is the idea to supplement the cost of the camp? Do you charge a fee for the camp? Where will the money from that go? And
so we make the camp is free, and that's been our model for the last 3 years, is to make it free. And we like removing the barriers to participation. That way we've had campers from Clawman, from the region, and from the city. And in our budget, which I believe is part of what I submitted, a good amount of it goes to the mentors. We also, because we don't have any equipment on site, we give a rental fee back to the mentors for their equipment that they bring. Each mentor brings their computer and their software to create the film. We also have the venue expense. The theater just, eats up money every day, one way or another. So primarily it goes to the mentors. We also have production assistants who are, again, locals. Some of them are graduates from the film school here. Some of them are attendees at the high school. And we also have volunteers, but the primary part of the budget goes to mentors, equipment rentals, and our couple of staff members who run the camp.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Gisborne.
Oh, thank you. I'll have the last question. So taking a look at your grant application, anticipated funds, and in here it says how much funding are you applying for from the city of Powell River? And it's $1,500 from the city. And then in your budget, you've got $2,000 being requested from the regional district. Is that the amount being requested from the regional district?
Yes.
Okay, because then 2 weeks from now when we have our meeting, I think that's when we're going to be discussing this. Is that $2,000 from the entire region or coming from electoral areas? Because that's always going to be an issue that comes up is, the electoral areas is 1/3 of the population, city is 2/3 of the population. So I'm just kind of trying to wrap my head around, like, is this going to be an application for $2,000 from the 1/3 where the 2/3 only contribute $1,500? I'm just kind of wondering why the city's request is less than the regional district's request.
For the moment, we do our requests to the city through the Arts Council, and the funding is limited. We're going to change that next year to go directly to the city, where we think we will have a chance at getting more funds. And it's not because we think we're not balancing it according to the campers that we think we're going to get. I just try and figure out where I can find funds. We've received funds in the past for that $2,000 amount. So I try and keep our budget as lean and as close to previous years. I mean, we've been working on this same budget for probably the last 3 years and have not increased it and have not increased our ask. So it's just a matter of trying to figure out how I can put the pieces together to make our total budget based on really what we need to run the program, not so much where we expect the campers to come from. In previous years, up until 3 years ago, we used to bring campers from all around the southern BC. And so we dealt with all kinds of issues like transportation, boarding, chaperones, all this kind of things. And I'm a big believer in simplifying our work. So we simplified it. And actually COVID played a part in it. When you could no longer get people to travel, we actually had, the first year was just kids from the digital film school who were already kind of in a group together. We didn't have to worry about mixing people. Our next year we had, you know, partial masking, we actually had some COVID cases result from the camp a couple of years ago. Nothing serious happened, but it was a risk that people took. Last year was great. You know, we usually choose a theme. As a side note, we choose a theme that's usually on kids' minds. Last year we did influencers. This year it seems that everybody's talking about the short concentration span that everybody has, children especially, and adults too, and how to deal with that. And I'm not quite certain how to turn that into a theme for the camp this year, but try and just get everyone involved, draw from the regional district, draw from Clawman. We try and have a diverse camper mix that doesn't necessarily match our funding mix.
Okay. So, but the $1,500, I know it's a tiny amount compared to the amount of money that we usually deal with, but so the $1,500 is through the Qathet Arts Council?
Yes.
Okay. That explains it now in my head. And I know that it's more of a question that's going to come up in 2 weeks, and it's going to be more of the directors, not so much from the delegation, but I just wanted to kind of wrap my head around those figures, because that was a question I was confused. But no, keep up the good work.
Director Elliott.
Very quick question. Does the Film Society apply for a permissive tax exemption from the city or not?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And so the value of that isn't in your contributions, and it could be as far as the application.
I'm not sure how I would portion that out to be part of the camp, which is you know, we get it on our taxes, and I can't remember the exact amount, but we do get a tax reduction of, I think, about $3,000 or something like that, which we just put in our general budget. We don't.
Yeah, I understand. It could be mentioned as part of your application that you use the film, uses the building.
Well, that's a good point.
That's a contribution to the overall.
But I'm not sure how I could probably do that anecdotally, but not necessarily put it in the
It would help people like Mark.
I'm Director Gisborne.
Sorry.
I'm happy to help all kinds
of people. Director Gisborne.
But I think when it comes to, why should the regional district give more money than the city does? To answer that question, yes, we do get other city funds for in our tax reduction. So thank you. Thanks for asking that question.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Schilling, for coming before us and delegating. It was interesting to hear from you, and we appreciate you coming before us. We'll consider the application at our next Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so skipping right down, we have a whole bunch of items that aren't on our agenda. So our next item of business is a question period. If anyone is in the audience, or if Mr. Glinski is there listening. Are there any questions?
The audience is departing quickly.
So that's the sense I got, that it's pretty quiet in there. And so going twice, going third time, no questions. So I will take it that there are no questions. We have no in-camera session. So we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
See you, Andrew.
See you tomorrow.
Recording stopped.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.